Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 71 of the Talk is Cheap show. Hope you're all well, healthy, and COVID-free. Thanks to everyone today for tapping in. I truly appreciate your support. We've got another excellent show lined up for you today, during which we'll look back at Arsenal's last couple of games. We'll look back at the talking points arising from those games. We'll also preview Arsenal's upcoming game this weekend against Sheffield United, and we'll discuss all the talking points that are relevant to those games. However, before we do that, it would be remiss of me not to start with my favorite part of the show, which is to introduce my next guest, my co-host, expert analyst, and good friend, the mercurial, the majestic, the magnanimous, the magnetic, the masterly, the maverick, the marvelous, the never malevolent or mendacious, but always matter of fact. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big digital round of applause to Mr. Big C, Curtis Shaw of Curtis Shaw TV in the house. What are you saying, bro?
I tell you what, man, you've been reading some dictionaries this week, haven't you? Because you're saying words I've never even heard of. But listen. Happy to be here, bro. I mean, it's been a bit of a rough week for Arsenal, but, you know, we're still here. We're still happy to be here, man, and we'll get into it.
There, man. We're still hanging in there, man.
That's
it.
Yeah.
Been otherwise than that, I mean, maybe you want to tell the people about AFTV FC's big win at the weekend.
Yeah, man, we're carrying the flag for Arsenal right now, you know. Obviously, we had a cup semi-final on the weekend. It was a tough game against, you know, one of the favourites. We managed to overcome them. Quality victory, good team performance. You know, I think we felt the victory was dedicated to Claude, obviously former assistant manager. Claudiola, as we used to call him. And no, it was a great win. I think it meant a lot to our team and everyone involved, all the staff. So obviously we'll be in the final sometime in May. And let's hope we can bring some silverware home, man.
Yeah, that was great. I was at that game, man, and it was especially after the week leading up to it, man. It was great to get the win and to see the tributes played to Claude. They had the minutes hand clap before the game by both, which was observed by both teams as well as those watching on the day. That was really great to see, and to get the win. Actually came from a goal behind and went on to win like that was excellent. 4-1 win. Man. So yeah, that's good. That's good. However,
awesome.
Didn't go quite as well for Arsenal itself. 2 games in a week. The first of those games was a big Premier League clash coming after the international break. We was looking forward to that so much, wasn't we? Against Liverpool at home. Unfortunately, our hopes of a win was dashed. A 3-0 defeat at the hands of Liverpool at home. Very disappointing, man. Curtis, what you got to say about that, bro? What was your thoughts?
I mean, do you know what, bro? In football, you can win and lose. It's part of the game. But the manner of the defeat is the thing that I always look at. And we made Liverpool look like the best team in the world, you know. We know Liverpool were incredible last season when they won the title. This is not that same Liverpool. They're not in the top 4. Both their centre-backs are injured. They've had problems this year. They've lost 9 games. They've lost to teams you would never expect them to lose to. And then having watched the Champions League game the other night and seen the way Real Madrid just demolished them and could have scored 5 or 6, this performance for me was one of the worst performances of the season for Arsenal. I can't deal with the fact that we're going into games like this and not even looking like we're attempting to win the game, not even looking like we're going to score a goal or trying to. So it was a timid, tepid, borderline embarrassing performance. I mean, we had Drifty on last week. Big up Drifty. And Drifty's saying, yo, as a Liverpool fan, he's saying, I'll take 1-1. I'm thinking about Real Madrid. And I think Liverpool probably turned up thinking, we'll take a point. We got Madrid. But I think once they saw the way that Arsenal were playing, you thought, you know what? We can have a feast here today. This is like an all-you-can-eat restaurant, bro. You can have as much as you want. So, no, it was one of them games that, as I've said many times again, we won't be going back through the timeline and watching the highlights of that game anytime soon. It was shocking.
Yeah, I have to say, I echo those sentiments entirely. And indeed, like you said, we had Drifty on the show last week. Shout out to Drifty, big pal of mine.
Yeah.
And he's a big time Liverpool fan, and he's a real connoisseur of football. And like you quite rightly said there, when we had him on the show and we was asking him about the game, he was like, yo, if we can come out of there with a 1-1 or a Desmond, then I'll be happy, because our thoughts are pretty much, you know what I mean, on that Real Madrid game the following Tuesday. And for them to rock up and do that on our own ground was immensely disappointing. And while we're on that as well, I would just like to say, I don't know if you saw, but Diego Jota's interview after that game. And he actually said that, and you know what, it's intuitive when a player is honest like that, because they're not always that honest. But he actually said, listen, we were expecting more from Arsenal. And that's a fellow pro, quite a humble looking guy. I don't think he's given to braggadociousness. So for him to come out and be open and honest and say, listen, we were expecting more from Arsenal, that pretty much tells you how poor we were. So then we're thinking, listen, we lost that 1-3. Okay, you know what? Maybe the manager and the players are subconsciously focusing their attentions on the Europa League game, which they shouldn't have been entirely, because, listen, man, the Premier League's still important. But we're saying, okay, you know what? Maybe subconsciously the game looming on the Thursday is very important. They're going to be keyed up, raring to go, and they're going to put in a performance. And so we get to Thursday, and boy, man, boy, where can I start, bro? I mean, I was flabbergasted at that slow start. But before we get into that, what was your thoughts on the lineup for the Europa League game?
Yeah, wasn't happy with it at all. Listen, I understood that he had to make changes. Obviously, no David Luiz. We now know Tierney could be out for the season, although they're saying he may be back in 4 weeks, but it could be 6 weeks. I didn't like the lineup. I didn't understand how Willian was justified of a start. Didn't get that at all. I think Pepe or Martinelli should have started ahead of him. The one thing that Slavia Prague seemed to struggle to cope with was pace. And Willian is not the Willian of 4 years ago that used to run people ragged. He gets the ball. He usually just cuts back and passes it now. So Willian, for me, shouldn't have started. I have to admit, I wasn't overly keen on the back four that he picked out. I looked at that back four and I thought, Cedric playing out of position. You've brought Bellerin back in, who hasn't been playing. And Gabriel and Rob Holding overall has not been a great partnership when I've seen them play together. So, and obviously he made the big call up front. Now, a lot of people were calling for that. I have to admit I wasn't. I did a preview the day before the game and I said I would start Aubameyang up front over Lacazette, because as well as Lacazette's playing and as poor as Aubameyang's been, Aubameyang is still the club's top goal scorer. And every time you watch Aubameyang, he usually gets opportunities, which you worry more as a striker when you don't get opportunities. And to me, Arteta is probably in a job now because of Aubameyang. Because let's face it, Aubameyang won us the FA Cup pretty much. 2 in the semis, 2 in the final. So for him to just turn on him and drop him, I was like, well, can you rely on Lacazette? Lacazette has scored less goals than what Giroud was scoring, and we needed an upgrade on Giroud. So to me, I think sometimes we're too quick to turn on the wrong players. You know, I think if we can't stand by Aubameyang and support him, what player are we ever going to stand by? You know, that guy's got more credit in the bank than anyone. So I thought it was a risky team selection. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, again, I would have to agree with you, man. I would have to agree with you again. Some sensei talk from you there. Listen, with the Aubameyang situation, I can understand there was a clamour for him to be dropped. And yes, Aubameyang has not looked himself this season. He was also dropped for disciplinary purposes a few weeks back, which I, at the time, once I found out the circumstances surrounding that, I was in favour of the manager leaving him out for that game, right?
Yeah.
So, listen. However, much like you, as much as I like Laka, I'm Team Laka normally, but this is a massive game and you need your big player in the team so that when the chances present themselves, he's more likely to get you a goal in them same situations than Lacazette. History tells us that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
History tells us that. So although I can understand why some people would have wanted Aubameyang dropped, if I'm manager of that team yesterday, I'm not going to fall prey to that clamour because I'm thinking, you know what? He's been hit and miss this season. But if you was to put your mortgage on somebody getting you a goal, you're going to have him over Lacazette.
All day.
So I was disappointed to see him not start. I mean, listen, when Aubameyang's been playing, he's been largely played out on the left and the right, and that's not really worked this season. Playing through the middle, bro. You know what I mean? Playing through the middle, and if it's not working then for a few games, then you can say, well, listen, man, I've given this man every opportunity, and he's not taking it. He's not on form. He'd probably best be out the team for a little bit. But to drop him, in effect, you stripped him of the captaincy as well by dropping him. I just didn't think that was a good move. I was very uncomfortable with that. And so it played out. Because the thing about Lacazette is, whilst he will give you the effort and the energy, he was dropping too deep last night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when there were certain chances that arose, in particular the one-on-one that he found himself in, he never really took that chance with any conviction, did he?
No.
And, you know, it's quite a big thing to say. But I think if you put Aubameyang in that situation, man, I think that net's bulging and he's doing that backflip. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And that game would have been so different had we got an early goal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. And the other position where I was a little disappointed as well, you touched on it earlier, the Willian. I would have had Pepe in there, man. And listen, we're not being wise after the event, are we? I mean, people can go back and look at our past shows and we've said, man, that Pepe needs a run in the team. He's got that kind of mercurial talent that even though he may not be playing well, he can do things that a number of other players in the team cannot do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would have gone for him, man. You need a goal. You need guys that can produce something out of a situation. And I think Pepe's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a team selection. What did you make of the tactics? The seemingly very slow start. What was all that about?
I mean, do you know what? Rance and Saeed on their channel, right? They say that Solskjaer has got no tactics, he's just vibes. That's what they say. No tactics, just vibes. I think Arteta is no tactics, no vibes, you know, because I don't understand how this guy, you know, Slavia Prague are 0-0 at half time. They've probably been the better team than us in the first half. Second half starts, they're making a substitution. Their manager's actually not happy with what they're doing and saying, I'm changing it. Next minute, he's making a double substitution. And I'm sitting there going, we've got Aubameyang, Martinelli, Pepe on the bench. And this guy's waiting till, what was it, the 73rd minute to make the first substitution.
I could not believe that.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. It's not. The game, I wouldn't have even been in, you know, shock if he made a change at half time. I think the game could have been changed.
You know what? We were saying exactly that.
Yeah.
At the watch-along yesterday, we were, the guys that were appearing on the watch-along were upstairs in the building. We were downstairs, and there was quite a few of us in here, you know what I mean? And we was chopping it up while the game was going on. And we was all saying, this guy needs to make changes. We were that poor in the first half that it needed shaking up for the second half. Because, you know what I mean? We needed goals. We needed to show some energy, some enthusiasm, some commitment, something, you know what I mean? Some spark. It just wasn't there. So I'm thinking, we're all saying, right, we're expecting to see some changes at halftime. We didn't get any. We're all disappointed. So we're thinking, you know what? He's probably said to them, man, there, you were so poor in that first half, I'm going to give you 10, 15 minutes. And if you don't show me anything, I'm going to be making changes. So you lot better get off your ass and get out there and do something. Nothing. And then, like you said, I was shocked to see the Slavia Prague manager making changes before he did.
Exactly.
And then when he did make the changes, when Aubameyang and Pepe and those guys, and Martinelli and those guys did come on, you saw the difference it made. So
I always say you shouldn't have a bench of that much quality unless your team is brilliant. You know, Man City can have that bench because they've got similar players on the bench and in the team. we had almost a better bench in certain areas than we had on the pitch, and that shouldn't happen. This was the home leg. It's the onus is on us to win the game. Why are you playing Willian ahead of Pepe or even Martinelli? Either one of them for me, because they can both run, they can both dribble, they both take players on. Willian gets the ball most of the time and just gives it back to the left back. He doesn't run at no one. He was unlucky with a free kick that hit the post, but it just didn't work. And I almost felt like Arteta was being so stubborn. It was almost like, you know what? I've dropped Aubameyang. I'm trying to prove everyone I'm the big manager. So I don't want to bring him on, because him bringing him on for Lacazette is almost like saying, oh, man, I've got it wrong. You know what I mean? So I feel like he was desperate for Lacazette to score. But, he got it wrong, I'm afraid. He got it wrong. He made the substitutions too late again.
Too late. Way too late. And like I said, when those guys did come on, they made an immediate difference. And indeed, Aubameyang, who looked sharp and looked bright, he did miss a chance that normally he probably would have taken, although I understand it was on his left foot. But a guy of his quality, you would be expecting him to put that away. The only saving grace for him, I would say, in that situation is that it happened pretty much a minute or two into him coming on the pitch.
Yeah.
So he's obviously trying to find his feet and all the rest of it. But then fair play to him. He's involved in the goal. He holds the ball up well. Lovely weighted pass through to Pepe. Fights off the defender. Excellent finish. So we're 1-0 up and you're thinking, wow, you know what I mean? We've got ourselves in front after not playing well. All we got to do now is see it out. There's a few minutes left. When did we score that goal? 80th minute? When it's something like that?
86th minute,
86 minutes. So you're thinking, listen, man, maximum there's 10 minutes to go in this game. Surely, you know what I mean? We've talked on this show, several shows in the past about our lack of game management, but you're thinking, you know what? Surely now they're going to see this out. Slavia Prague, decent side, but no great shakes. We should be able to hold on to this 1-0. It's not great, but we'll take it. You know what I mean? It might give us a little bit of an advantage going into the second leg. And then lo and behold, a minute and a half left. They go and give away a silly corner. Lack of concentration at the corner. Pepe's a bit unfortunate, hits his thigh, pops up nicely for the defender to head it in. Some people are saying Leno should have done better from there. What would you say about that?
It's a tough one. I know every time you see that type of goal where the keeper gets hands on it, you kind of feel like he should save it. It's a difficult one. The guy is close to him and it is a powerful header. It's one of them, maybe, maybe not. I'm not really blaming him on this one. But maybe he could have done better. For me, I'm looking at Cedric, because Cedric, I feel, caused them to get that corner rather than clearing the ball. And then he loses that defender the guy at the back post who heads it in. When the guy's heading it in, Cedric is on the wrong side of him. Yeah. He's trying to pull him back. He should be in front of him, blocking the ball. So it's poor defending. And we're our own worst enemy. We've said it many times, if Arsenal are going to do well in this Europa League, they need to defeat themselves in a way. We actually stopped ourselves from winning that game last night. Yeah. I mean, for anyone who used to watch wrestling, there's a guy called Mankind. And that guy in goal looked like Mankind yesterday. He had the mask on, he had the helmet. He looked so shaky on the ball, that goalkeeper, and we never tested him the whole night. We just let him off. It was so frustrating, man.
Yeah, I mean, to give away a goal like that at the end there was just sort of capped the whole disappointing night, you know what I mean? It just kind of put the seal on what was a very disappointing night. I mean, you saw the way the Slavia Prague players and the manager were celebrating at the end there. They obviously think that it's pretty much job done. And let's be honest, man, it's going to be a very difficult game next week. I mean, I know Slavia Prague, they're not playing the strongest league in Europe. However, they are very good at home. I don't think they've been beaten at home for a couple of seasons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that is going to be a very tough game. And let's not forget, although there were some people, my brother included, he was one of them, who was hooping and hollering when Slavia Prague came out the draw a couple of weeks ago. When they came out the hat, there was enough, man. Yeah, great draw. And I remember cautioning people at times saying, listen, man, these guys, you know what I mean? They're no mugs. They put Leicester out and they put Rangers out quite comfortably. It's not going to be an easy game. You can make the case that, we could have got a more difficult draw, which we could have done. But listen, man, you know what I mean? Don't think that because They're Slavia Prague and they're from the Czech Republic and we don't know too much about them. They're not a good team. And they've got to be favourites by now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
that next leg?
I mean, they're winning. Whether it was 1-1, they're winning on away goals. If we drew 0-0, we'd be out. Look, I look at it like this. I was fuming last night, but, you know, obviously calmed down a little bit today. And I still look at it and I don't think Slavia Prague were anything special. You know, we got to look at that game.
But did they have to be, though? Did they have to be?
They didn't have to be.
We didn't play well ourselves.
But when you look at it, Laurie, Saka should score his one-on-one. Lacazette should score. Like, they are clear-cut one-on-ones you cannot miss. Willian hits the post from the free kick, and then Aubameyang missed that chance, which was, he could have scored if he was full of confidence. But it's not the easiest, but he could have done better. So you're potentially saying at least 2 or 3 goals there we could have scored, plus the goal we did score as well. So I think if we'd have scored 1 or 2 of those chances, I think Prague could have got turned over, you know. Did they do a lot in that game to create a goal? They had a shot from range that Leno tipped onto the post. I still look at it and think if Arsenal perform in Prague, I still think we're a better team than they are. But we are our biggest problem. Like, you just don't know. We've just got to go there and win the game. 2-1, 1-0, 3-2, and we're through. But this manager's got to pick the right team. You can't pick Willian and players like that when you need to go there and score goals.
Good points. Good points. I want to ask you on that. It's a little bit of devil's advocate, but I am interested to hear your thoughts on it. So we've had the game now, and the fallout of the game has been quite damning. The manager in particular, I know is taking a lot of stick. It would appear that as the weeks go by, even the people that were showing a lot of faith in him previously are now starting to second guess and say, listen, you know what? I'll back this guy. But as the weeks go on and I'm seeing the performances dip, I'm struggling to really make a case for him staying in his job. Certainly, if we don't win the Europa League, he should go. Now, then there are some other people I've spoken to who are saying, listen, man, you can't blame the manager too much. Okay, you could argue that you should have started Aubameyang and Pepe, but that team that was out there yesterday should have beaten Slavia Prague, and we had the chances. So my question to you is, how much of the blame do you apportion to Arteta? Because like you just said yourself, regardless of what team was picked, we had 3 or 4 good chances there that, regardless of the manager, those players do have the ability to have converted those chances. Then we would have won the game. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation. So how much of the blame do you put on the manager for a performance like that? Or should the players take a bit more responsibility?
No, I would put more of the blame on the players because, like I said, 2 or 3 clear-cut chances to finish the game. And like you said, we'd be having the whole show would be different today. You know, we'd be celebrating. So I definitely put more of the blame on the players. Saka, Lacazette are 2 players that you would probably want them chances to fall to with the likes of Aubameyang and Pepe. But I do think this manager has to take some of the blame. Number one, I think he picked the wrong lineup. I think he took too long to make the substitutions. And listen, my opinion on this manager hasn't changed for a long time. I don't think he's good enough to be the Arsenal manager. I think he's out of his depth. I've seen very little progress since winning the FA Cup. The FA Cup was the highlight of his time as a manager. It surprised me that we even won it. But have this football club built since winning that FA Cup? What have we done that any fan can look at and say, do you know what? We're going in the right direction under this manager. The football has been boring this season. You know, you've been at watch-alongs and stuff. Some of these games are diabolical to watch. The attack, we're scoring fewer goals than we've scored in absolute years. You know, most of our best attacking players have digressed under this manager, actually got worse. Everyone says, oh, you know, the defence has improved under him. I don't think it has. We've lost 12 games in the league. We got knocked out both domestic cups. You know, by next week, you know, it's touch and go whether we'll still be in the Europa League. I think certain players in that dressing room, I'm watching them now, and I think some of these players don't believe in this manager. I'm not saying they're not putting the effort in, but I don't think they believe in his methods and what he's doing. And if he doesn't win the Europa League, for me, I would get rid of him in the summer. I know some people think he needs more time, this, that, the other. This is a massive football club. You know, he's very lucky to be the manager in the first place, considering he had no experience. Would he survive at United, Liverpool, City, 10th in the league? I don't think he would. I think he'd be long gone. And I don't think the club is moving in the right direction. I think to give him a summer and another transfer window could do more damage than good. And you look at the players that he signed in the summer, and we've just got to be honest here. I'm a massive fan of Thomas Partey. I was delighted when we signed him. He's had a poor season, if we be honest. Half of that is down to injury, obviously. He hasn't been available. We don't even understand why he's getting injured so much, because he wasn't getting injured at Atletico. But he was absolutely shocking against Slavia Prague. I thought he'd gone colourblind. I think he gave the ball to them every time he won the ball back.
Yeah, it wasn't a good night for Partey.
It was not a good night. I actually celebrated El Neni coming on for Thomas Partey. I mean, I'm at rock bottom at this point. You know what I mean? So it's been a rough season, man. And, you know, I just think, look, the club, sometimes you've got to hold your hands up and say it's not working, you know, and I don't think it is working. So, but I don't expect these owners to be strong enough to get rid of the manager. They'll you know, feed out more PR to everyone and say that he needs more time. So, but it's been one of the worst seasons I've ever seen as an Arsenal fan, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, some of the comments I was seeing after that game that was directed to the manager, you have to be. I get the distinct impression that the tide is starting to turn a little bit with a lot of the fans. Yeah. A lot of those guys that were backing him before vocally are now saying, well, you know what? Unless he wins that Europa League, mate, you know what I mean? I can't back this guy anymore. And some are even saying, even if he does, that should be his swan song and we should let him go on a high so that he can get another job somewhere else. That's how bad it's getting, man. I mean, listen. The trajectory at the moment is definitely downwards, isn't it? I mean, okay, the guys went 3-0 down against West Ham and they came back, performed very well. They got a creditable draw. Could even have gone on and won that game. But in the last 4 or 5 weeks, you're struggling to pick out a performance that you can be encouraged by, really, aren't you?
Yeah,
because, I mean, let's face it, even in the West Ham game, to go 3-0 down in that manner in the first place was dreadful. Yes, things evened itself up, but I'm kind of struggling to go back a few weeks and find a performance that I can hold up and say, yeah, man, this is an example of the progress we're making under this manager. He seems to have gone stagnant, and like you said earlier, it's almost like we're regressing now, and that's worrying. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. I mean, listen, next week the season pretty much hangs by a thread, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, I would say we're hanging by a thread already, because I'll be honest with you, bro, I can't make us favourite for next week. Not after what I'm seeing at the moment. On paper, you can say, yeah, Arsenal got the better team and, yeah, we'll turn up. But that's by no means a given. No, like I said, you looked at the way the Slavia Prague guys were celebrating at the end of that game yesterday. They're thinking, listen, man, these guys are not all that. We've done the hard bit now. We got the away goal. When we get them back to our place, I reckon we'll be all right. And it's kind of hard to kind of see past that, bro. I don't like to say those things publicly, man, but, you know, we like to keep it real on this show, bro. But
we have to say it as it is. That, like you said, they were celebrating as if they thought, you know what, bringing these men back to Prague. And you know the thing, I just want to mention this quickly as well, Laurie. Like yesterday, Prague refused to take the knee before the game, which, you know, is a bit like crazy considering what's happened with them in the previous round against Rangers. They refused to do that, and you just think, you know, if ever you needed a bit of extra motivation, it's like nothing seems to get through to this group of players. You know, against Liverpool, they all come out wearing Rocastle shirts and then put in a performance like that. And then, you know, this week they do that. I feel very disconnected as a fan from this football club now. I think under this owner, with these players, with this manager, Arsenal feels like a business to me now. It doesn't really feel like a football club, you know. They'll put out a video on Friday and in training where every player looks like Messi. They're bending free kicks in the top corner. On Monday morning, they'll release their new spring training kit that's about £200 for a T-shirt. And then they turn up and put in a performance like that. I just think they're ripping the fans off at the moment. And, you know, it's not acceptable. And I sent you this stat last night. I don't know if you remember it. Where
you did.
Arsenal haven't kept a clean sheet in all competitions since January against Manchester United. 14 games in a row we've conceded a goal. You know, and some people said our defence is better. I don't think it is, to be honest.
Yeah. And then a lot of people are saying that even if we get through this round, can you really see us going on to beat the likes of Villarreal and possibly Man United in the final?
Doesn't look like it.
You have to say at this stage, no. But you know what? As I always say on this show, football's a funny game. A lot can change in the space of 7 days.
Yeah.
And so we see how we go. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I wouldn't make us favourites, but what I would say is, based on what I've seen yesterday, I do agree with you. Slavia Prague are a decent outfit. They're no world beaters. So if we get it right, we are capable of getting a result. But then having said that, I wouldn't put a mortgage on that either.
No, you wouldn't. So, you might be in the streets, you know what I mean?
I might be looking to sleep on your couch or something like that.
I'm telling you, bro.
But literally, the season is hanging by a thread. And I think that's what I'm going to title this show, the season. Because if we don't win next week, it's unlikely, well, extremely unlikely that we're going to get top four. That's pretty much gone.
Oh, no.
Very remote that we're going to get top six. So then you're looking at, you know what I mean? What do you make of it? Some people are actually saying it might be better if we don't qualify for Europe at all, if we don't win the Europa League, and just start afresh and rebuild. But then that predicates the owners of the club getting their wallets out. And I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, is it?
No, listen, I disagree. I get the point. Some people think not playing on a Thursday and can manage your squad better, but I don't think we're good enough to get in the top four. I think it's easier to win the Europa League for Arsenal than it is to get in the top four. You look at the top four, we're finishing miles away from the top four. At least in the Europa League, we get to the latter stages. So, nah, not for me. Stan Kroenke, he doesn't need any excuses to keep his wallet in his pocket. And no Europe gives him another excuse. So for me, we've got to be in Europe next season.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I think we're 10 points off the top four, and there's only 8 games left. And the way some of those other teams are playing, I can't see them slipping up like that. So that's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Doom and gloom, I'm afraid. But like I said, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Our season's hopes are hanging by a thread. But while there's still hope, we've got to remain hopeful.
That's it.
So there you go. Okay, opposite of the week then. This weekend, we're playing the mighty Sheffield United.
Oh, this is a big game. This could be a
massive game. 10th versus bottom. How about that? You know what I mean? You've gone from playing Liverpool one week to playing Sheffield United the next. But you know what? I don't know what you think, but maybe this could be the perfect game for Arsenal insofar as we need a win. And I know I'm sounding slightly disrespectful now for Sheffield United, but come on, Sheffield fans. You are bottom of the table. You have lost like 24 games already this season. I mean, come on, bro. So I would imagine that Arsenal going to rock up at Sheffield United this week. We're going to pick a decent team, and we should be capable of getting a win. I mean, you know, let's face it, man. Sheffield United have been pretty poor pretty much all season. They're pretty much managerless, although they have got someone in charge at the moment, but, you know, he's not going to be their long-term manager. I would have thought that this gives us an opportunity to get a win, to get some confidence, maybe a couple of the guys up front to get a few goals. Maybe Martinelli might play. I don't know. Maybe Aubameyang might come back in. Talking of that, what do you think? I'm hearing some stories this morning where there's rumours of a possible fallout between Aubameyang and the manager. Have you heard that?
I saw something this morning. I mean, I wasn't sure how good a source it was, so I never said it. But now you've mentioned it as well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't see a real connection between him and the manager. And I think the way he's managed him this season has been poor. Listen, Aubameyang hasn't been great, and he does deserve criticism. Some of his performance have been lacklustre, to say the least. But the amount of times he's been played left wing, right wing, getting dragged off, had no service, or we're putting 30 crosses into the box, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. And
do you think it might stem from the incident where he turned up late and was dropped? Do you think Aubameyang might be carrying some feelings from that, or what?
I mean, if that's the case, I think that's wrong of him because he's got no one to blame but himself. You know, that's your own fault. You're the captain. You're turning up late for a North London derby. So if he's sulking over that, then I don't rate that. But if he's just sulking or unhappy because of the way the whole season's gone, maybe he's looking at Arteta going, I've just committed my last major contract of my career to this football club. And I feel like you've lured me here under false pretenses. Like, I expected the club to be moving forward and we're going backwards. So, listen, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think there'll be more players. You know, I heard earlier in the season that Lacazette wasn't vibing well with Arteta. You know, listen, my opinion's there, man. I don't think he should be the manager next season unless he wins that Europa League.
And then there's a curious case of Martinelli, who just doesn't seem to be getting much game time at all. And you do wonder about that, don't you? I mean, because let's face it, Lacazette, both Aubameyang and Lacazette at times haven't been firing. And you've got an option there, and he doesn't appear to have been used much. And I'm pretty sure Martinelli would have been displeased, to say the least, that he's not getting more game time. But going back to Aubameyang, I would imagine, I mean, listen, I don't know. And there's people speculating out there. But I would imagine when he saw that team sheet yesterday and saw that he weren't on it, I would imagine he would have been pretty pissed off.
Yeah, very.
You're the captain, you're the main guy, you're the go-to man. This is a massive game. You know, probably our biggest of the season so far. And you're on the bench and you're thinking to yourself, well, actually, if it weren't for my 2 goals against Benfica, we probably wouldn't be here now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I would imagine he'd be pretty pissed off about that. Yes, he hasn't been playing well, but sometimes you've got to trust in the guy's abilities, man. You know what I mean? He's been phenomenal pretty much all the time he's been here up until this season. He's going through a bad patch. Sometimes a manager needs to put his arm around him and say, listen, man, I still believe in you. Even though everyone out there is clamoring for you to be dropped, you are my man. I believe in you. Maybe Aubameyang feels that he's been hung out to dry a little bit. Maybe he's been made to feel that he's the scapegoat for some of these lackluster performances. And listen, Aubameyang has not played well, but he's been by no means the only one.
No,
you mentioned Partey earlier. There's a number of players that haven't covered themselves in glory this season. And I'm not going to, you know, sort of sit here and go through the list. I don't need to, but everyone knows what I'm talking about, man. There's been very few players that can sort of look in the mirror this season and say, yeah, man, I've had a good season. You know what I mean? So, but hey, man. Right, so the Sheffield United game, give us your thoughts on that, bro. Do you think that's an opportunity for us to make some changes and hopefully get a win and give the guys some confidence? Or what would you do in terms of team selection for that game?
I mean, it's funny because I agree with you that it is a great opportunity, but it's only a great opportunity if we actually win it. Like, can you imagine if we drew or lost? Like,
I actually could imagine that.
You know what I mean?
I could.
We only beat Sheffield United 2-1 at home earlier in the season. So, you know, I think it'll still be a tricky game, but he needs to make a few changes, I think. He's got to be mindful of the game on Thursday as well. You know, I'd give Matt Ryan a game in goal, you know. I would play Matt Ryan. I don't think Leno's covered himself in glory. I don't think the league is... I mean, look, we've still got to try and win the league games, of course, but I'd give Matt Ryan a game. I'd give Martinelli a game. Definitely would play him. And listen, I think Aubameyang's got to be back involved because for me, there's no way on earth that Aubameyang can't start on Thursday. We need goals. The best goal scorer has to be on the pitch. You can say what you want about Lacazette's all-round game. He is not a better goal scorer than Aubameyang. So I think play Aubameyang against Sheffield United. Let's hope he can get a goal, get some confidence. You know, if we were winning the game comfortably, maybe you could take him off with 20 or 30 minutes to go. But I want to see Aubameyang playing. I want to see Pepe playing. I want to see Pepe play against Slavia Prague. I feel like every time it comes to a big Europa League game, Pepe gets dropped and or rested, as he calls it, you know. But yeah, I want to see Pepe and Aubameyang. But I would definitely give Matt Ryan a go in goal. I think he deserves the start.
Yeah, again, I would have to agree with that. The only problem that I see looming there is the spectre of injuries. So if Aubameyang or Pepe plays and, you know, a bad tackle goes in, let's face it, Sheffield United are quite a physical side. Yeah. And their approach to this game will be one of, listen, man, the shackles are off. We're pretty much down. Arsenal are coming to town. We're playing for pride. So that will motivate them. You know what I mean? They're not going to want to get thrashed on their own ground. They're going to know that Arsenal's slightly vulnerable right now, slightly lacking in confidence. And they're going to feel that, listen, man, we've got nothing to lose. We can go in hard. Some of the Arsenal players might not fancy a physical battle, given that they've got another big game coming up the following week. So I'm sure that their team talk will echo those sentiments and that they'll be going for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
That being said, like you said earlier yourself, the game provides an opportunity for some guys who have not been informed to perhaps go out there and put in a decent performance, get a goal or two, and look forward to the following week with some optimism. So let's hope it's the latter, man. But
let's hope so.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your prediction?
So listen, we're moving on in terms of time. I always ask you this question, your prediction or result for the game. What do you say, bro?
I'm gonna go 3-1. Yeah, I would like to think we'll score a few goals. You know, do I go 3-1? Yeah, I'll go 3-1. Why not? I'll be optimistic. If we can't get goals against bottom of the league, we ain't scoring against no one, are we? So I'll go 3-1.
Listen, I know you've played with him in previous years, and he's a mate of yours, McGoldrick. Do you think he'll be playing this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. He usually scores against us, by the way. You know, so I'm sure he'll. I've spoke to him a few times, and let's just say he's always optimistic playing against Arsenal's defence. Let's put it that way. So
another one of those strikers who look forward. He's also one of those clubs, aren't there, where like a guy could be going through the biggest goal drought. I remember Benteke last year. He hadn't scored for about 2 seasons. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, Arsenal rock up into town and a man scoring and looking like a prime Benteke. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're sort of like Santa Claus, man. Hand out gifts to everyone, though.
But nevertheless, like you, I do expect us to win. I'm going for 2 clear goals, whether it's 2-0, 3-1, 4-2, or whatever. But yeah, I think we'll run out fairly comfortable winners. I'm trying not to be too disrespectful to Sheffield United, but I've seen them a couple of times this season. And they've been pretty poor. They hardly score. They score less goals than us, and they've been whacked a few times this season, man. So if we go there and lose, that will be yet another disappointing result. And I don't think we can afford too much more of them. But then, listen, man, it's all leading into that next week, and I don't like to look too far ahead. That's disrespectful to Sheffield United, but that game next week, man, it's pretty much all or nothing, isn't it?
It's everything, yeah.
Everything.
It's everything.
Oh, yeah, so what do you think the approach will be to that game? Just asking you briefly. I mean, we'll probably
Thursday, I think, it's one of them. We've got to be attacking but cautious. It's like, I think we need to score the first goal. You know, if they score first, it's like, wow, back's really against the wall. But if we go there and get that away goal, that will take off some of the pressure, and then we hope we can, you know, get the second and open them up. But, yeah, I'm going to be nervous. I already feel, you know, anxious about that game, like, wow, because this team just, you don't know what Arsenal are going to show up, but he's got to pick the right team. He has to, you know, I don't want to see no Willian. He needs to play Martinelli or Pepe, obviously Saka. Apparently Odegaard isn't back for that game either, so Smith Rowe will probably be in the 10.
I think the problem with this manager as well, he's not what I would call a front foot manager, is he?
No, he's not.
The type of guy that's going to look to try and take the game by the scruff of the neck. I think we're going to see a fairly cautious approach with us trying to hit them on the break. Now, can we play like that for 90 minutes without conceding? I'm not so sure. I mean, oh, man. But listen, man, let's see how we get on first this weekend.
Yeah,
let's try and get a win this weekend, get some confidence up, and then hopefully we go into next week's game a bit buoyant and a bit, you know what I mean, a bit of energy, a bit of passion. Let's say it with our chest, man. But before all that, we got to beat Sheffield United. But listen, bro, thanks very much for coming on and giving us honest and forthright contributions as usual. I've really enjoyed listening to you, as I always do, man. Tell the people where they can find you on social media, bro.
Curtis Shaw TV on YouTube, daily uploads, nearly at 25K. You know where I'm at, people. You know where I'm at.
Doing big things, man. Doing big things. And thanks to all the people out there for watching. Send us your comments. Send us your messages. Let us know what you think of some of the things we spoke about today. What did you think of the performance against Slavia Prague? Who do you lay the blame at? The players, the managers? Is it both in equal measure? Do you think we have enough to turn it around and get a win? Do you think that the manager has what it takes to take this team forward? Let us know what you think, man. And smash the like button. Smash that like button, man. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video, man. And also, take care of yourselves. Keep yourselves COVID-free. Wear those masks. Observe all the rules. Keep watching. Keep supporting. And we'll see you next week. We're out.